Let's talk about social media. So you had a very quick rise on social media. And how did that affect your mental health? Because that must be very difficult having this big rise very
Yeah,
fast. Mhm.
it was. And interestingly, though, I got on social media because my mental health was not doing great. And I came onto social media to say that, to say therapists are human beings and we're not perfect. And we have brains that have emotional parts of them, and we have traumas and we have past. So it was actually helpful because it became an outlet for me in a positive way to bond with other people, especially in the middle of a pandemic when we're all isolated at home. And I think that for others who, even other therapists that got the same rise that I did through TikTok initially, they experienced a lot more negativity, a lot more pushback, a lot more hate, a lot more just kind of like trolling, just treating people poorly. And they were one of those people being treated poorly. And so I think because that didn't happen to me, and still hasn't really happened to me, I think that my mental health hasn't been affected, but it's given me an opportunity over the last 2 years to watch and connect with other therapists who have experienced these mental health issues as a direct result of being exposed to millions of people every month, to learn how will I react if that does happen, especially as somebody with a history of interpersonal trauma, severe anxiety, and I have borderline personality disorder. So
Oh,
anybody
wow.
so anybody coming to me and saying anything negative at all, in my past, it was immediately, I suck, the world sucks, I'm going to delete my accounts, and I've learned to redirect that over the years. And so now, even when I get little tiny comments that are like, therapists shouldn't be dressing like that, or a therapist shouldn't say the F word or whatever, I've built resilience in knowing that those comments are exactly why I created this platform, to shift those perspectives. But I do have to manage my physiology still when it comes to my severe anxiety, because it's just so physical. My heart will race. I'll like get lightheaded. And that's just par for the course of being a human that's had some hard experiences.
Because being online, it's not just about negativity. There's just like that just exposure in general, and that attention, and every message or every beep on the phone is like a person in the end. It can be quite overwhelming. And for me, I left my job in luxury real estate in 2009, and I set up a sex blog. And I'm British, but I live in Spain. So I was quite well known in the Spanish media for the first like 6 years of my career. But my rise has been very gradual, and it's still not even at your level. But there's been some peaks when I was on front pages of newspapers and stuff. I just find it a bit a bit overwhelming. And I think sometimes the haters for me wasn't the hardest thing to deal with, because sometimes when someone makes a comment, it actually inspired me more to make new content rather than, hey, that's great, we agree with that. You know what I mean? It kind of,
Yeah.
it was, and I kind of saw the positive in it, and also I kind of thought it was like a test from the universe to see if I could handle more of it. You know what I mean? So I tried to kind of
Yeah.
look on the good side. But there's also another side of what I found harder is actually the obsessed super fans. I mean, that's that for me, when people who have notifications, so every time you post something and they're just kind of obsessed, and they kind of have this idea of who you are just from your content. And also create a burnout, because that's a real thing as well. So if you have to, how have you coped with any of these things, especially create a burnout, because that's very real with anyone who's creating content, because it's a lot of
Oh,
effort and energy.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love everything that you talked about. Also, I'll touch on all three of them really briefly. So the first one was those negative comments and how those things can be inspiring. And so one of the only things that's happened to me over my career so far doing this, is I was lip syncing to a song on TikTok, and one of the words was sociopath. It was like the new Olivia Rodrigo song. And just like, I guess you're just a sociopath. And I said the word, I mouthed the word. And sociopath is obviously a stigmatizing word for people with antisocial personality disorder, which I understand because I have a personality disorder in the same cluster. Somebody with antisocial personality disorder made a reply video saying you're a therapist and you just used a stigmatizing word like it was no big deal. And so I came out and I made an apology video because it was important. I didn't realize that I had done something that could affect other people. And that was encouraging for me. And I made multiple videos after that apology video destigmatizing personality disorder, specifically talking about antisocial personality disorder and why the word sociopath can harm people in this community and in this population. So I love that you sort of had a similar experience where it kind of encouraged you to do more. I'm not remembering what the second one was.
Like super fans, because the one who like you too much, I found that more difficult than the haters.
Yes, it definitely can be. It can be really overwhelming. And something that's interesting as a therapist having those types of super fans is that they, I have a few of them and they want me to acknowledge not, it's not them saying, oh, like, I love your outfit, or I love this, or I love that, or thank you for the content. Instead, it's, are you proud of me that I'm 4 days free from self-harming? Now I'm 7 days. Now I'm 15 days. Now I'm 30 days. And it just goes on and on and on. And so it's really hard as a mental health professional to be exposed to so much of that information about other people randomly around the world and know my ethical and legal boundaries and personal boundaries, because these are not my clients and this is not my responsibility, but I have to really know them. And I have to, I still want to give them access to me, just give everybody that enjoys my content access, but I do have to have really firm lines. And I often have had to block people before because they just are, I can tell that they're relying on me too much, even though my disclaimers are in place that this is not a replacement for therapy or for treatment. So it can be tricky.
Yeah, because I had just an experience recently and I started Googling and trying to do Dr. Google. And I found out this disorder called celebrity adoration disorder or something like that. It had a name with celebrity and disorder in it. There's a middle word I can't quite remember, but it's a very real thing. And and I think people kind of maybe think that because you might have replied to a few messages that you're their friend. And sometimes if you don't quite make the content that they want, they get angry. It's like they're their only your only audience or something. And it's quite difficult to get to that point of blocking because you think, oh, your content brings them joy. So if you block them, it's kind of like acknowledging that something's not right, but then ignoring them. It's a very difficult situation.
Yeah, it really, really is. And that almost like leads into the creative burnout that I think many of us experience. But as a mental health professional, it's like making mental health content, dealing with my own mental health issues, hearing about all of my followers' mental health issues, which other creators don't have to do when they're not mental health focused. And so it's just most people are creative actively when they have space. They have space in their brain, they have space in their lives, space in their bodies to just flow and have fun. And so it can get really hard and really heavy with not only the type of content that I have to make, but also the type of responses that I get frequently. And that's just like the actual level of specific content that I'm doing. But on a broader scale, so social media and the society of social media sort of expects us to show up in an innovative way every single day, do something new, follow every trend, always know what the algorithm wants and doesn't want, and always respond to what everybody that's in your following is asking for. And that is just absolutely impossible to do. It's impossible to do. And really the tip that I give people when they're experiencing this creative burnout is to just pause for a moment and realize that you don't have to show up every single day. You just don't have to show up every single day. The algorithm isn't giving you bonuses for showing up every single day. The algorithm is going to benefit you when you create content that you care about, that you can put your creativity into, and that you can spend some time on. So you're allowed to pause. As a therapist, you are allowed to pause, but as a content creator and a human being too, I highly encourage pausing, just because you can only go so far with so many ideas before you either lose yourself or you lose the quality of content.